Hi guys, morning. Welcome to another video into my channel. As you know by now, when things have been going through my mind, I get this urge to make a video and share. So that's what I'm doing now. It's first thing in the morning and I haven't long woken up, so I'm kind of bleary-eyed and even more froggy-throated than usual. But hey, here we go. Now, I want to talk to you today about, well, it's about two things. It's about a subject, but also about a process. And the subject I'm going to entitle of thought forms and artificial elementals. And the process is how we can know something intellectually and sometimes even have an experience of that intellectual knowledge, but somehow not link the two together to anchor the knowledge and the experience as one thing. Because when we anchor knowledge and experience as one thing, that's when it becomes our deep knowing. That's when it becomes integrated into our worldview, I suppose, and our deep understanding and our sure knowledge. So the circumstance then, well, about a year ago now, coming up, I went through two very distressing experiences. One was the breakup of my 6-year relationship. And although that was the right thing to happen, though it was the best for both of us, it was very painful, and it didn't happen in one or even two events. It was like a death of 1,000 cuts. It was exhausting and very draining and excruciatingly painful. And then on top of that, I lost one of my beloved cats, which I will say now was even more excruciatingly painful. Now, I don't know quite what that says about me as a person, but I think often we can relate, a lot of people can relate more and express themselves more emotionally with their animals than they can with people. And sometimes people, they grieve more easily for the loss of their animals than they can for the loss of people. And it was the same with me. Anyway, my little cat died. Well, he didn't die. I had to take him to have him put to sleep. And it almost broke me. I was so distressed and distraught. Anyway, about a week after my cat had to be put to sleep, I was lying in bed and asleep. And I woke up because I felt the familiar weight against me of where he always used to sleep. And I remember it really clearly, waking up and thinking, oh, what is that? And reaching down to feel what it was and feeling the soft skin of my cat, because he was a Sphinx, he was a hairless cat. And then looking to see what it was I had touched and seeing Louis the cat, who had died. And I remember thinking, you're not supposed to be here. You're gone now. But I wasn't surprised. And I just felt a great sense of joy that he was there again. And I suppose then I must have fallen back off to sleep. And I woke up a short while later. He was still there. I had moved in my sleep, I had turned, but he was still there. And I then remember thinking, oh, well, I must be dreaming. And reaching out and kind of checking that he was still there again. And he was, then going off to sleep, then waking up again, still there. And this happened kind of throughout the night. And I remember thinking, well, I can't be dreaming because I can't be going back to the same dream time after time after time. But it was I don't know, a very strange sensation. The night passed, the night where Louis the cat was there in the same way that he always had been for so many years. And then eventually the morning came and I woke up and he was gone. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I must have been dreaming, but I'm sure I wasn't. But just being left with the feeling, well, what a really lovely experience that I got to spend one more night with my little cat. Anyway, roll on forward a year. And between then and now, becoming familiar with the concept of thought forms, and in particular of artificial elementals. Now, to me, the difference between a thought form and an artificial elemental is kind of by degree. A thought form is something where we have a very clear image in our visual imagination, where we have a degree of energy coming from our emotion to be able to visualize it, which is then projected into the astral light and is created as an astral form. Now, thought forms usually only last for as long as they are held in our creative memory, in our creative vision. And depending on our degree of expertise at visualizing and summoning emotion to create, they will last longer or shorter time. But usually a thought form is not particularly long-lived, and when we let it go, it just goes back into the astral light. So thought form. Artificial elemental, somewhat different. Same creative process, but it is powered by, how can I explain this? It is powered by a donated part of our life force. So it isn't just visualized and emotionally summoned. It's visualized, it's emotionally summoned, and transferred into it is a part of the life energy that is ours. It's animated. It becomes seemingly independent, but its character is built from the emotional energy and the life energy that we project into it. Which is why an artificial elemental is sometimes called an artificial spirit, because it's an approximation of a living thing, but it isn't really. It isn't a living thing in its own right. It's like a satellite. It's like a satellite entity of the main entity that creates it. And it is dependent on that main entity for its continued existence. Now, in occult teaching, the artificial elemental is linked to its creator by an energy cord. And the artificial elemental can only exist while that conduit between it and its creator is maintained. Anyway, one of the other differences about the artificial elemental and the thought form is that while the thought form exists only in the astral light, unless it's brought through into manifestation in real life, obviously, but the artificial elemental can be visible in physical existence. And I realize now that is what had happened, because the process of creating an artificial elemental had occurred in the creation of the visit of my little cat. And this can particularly happen at times between waking and sleeping. Because when we are in that between wake and sleep, the effect of our conscious mind, which usually in these instances tends towards disbelief, is limited. may even be switched off. So when you're between wake and sleep, the sensors that normally edit what we think is possible, much lowered. So at that time, in my heart, there was such a load of grief, both for the loss of my relationship and two, for the loss of my beloved cat. And his memory and his image was in my mind constantly. So as I was drifting off to sleep, I was creating his image, his character, and his kind of personality was in my mind. And the combination of both, this clear, continual image, fed by such a depth of emotional pain, had caused me to create an image of him as an artificial elemental, which had weight and substance. Now, people watching this will think, he's crazy. And you know, a year ago, if I'd listened to the same thing, I would have thought that I was crazy too. But not now. And this is what I mean by when we have an experience of something and we have a knowledge of what it is, and importantly, we are able to link the two, knowledge to experience, that's when knowing occurs. So now when someone talks to me about what an artificial elemental is, I don't only have an intellectual understanding of that, but I have a practical, experiential understanding of it as well. And the other thing that really surprises me, and it continues to surprise me, is how walking this path, we can say that we believe the things that we believe, but then when we actually see them happen in our life and in our experience, we can be really surprised. We can be astonished, in fact. And it shows me how much cognitive dissonance lies within us, and why often the things that we think should happen because of what we think we believe don't happen. Because on the one hand, we have this intellectual belief that they are real and that they do occur, but at the very same time, our conscious mind has a strong disbelief that they actually exist and that they will occur. And this filter of disbelief is what we have to work on removing, because our minds are incredibly powerful, but only when they believe and know that they are. Anyway, it's my morning ramble, and looking at my phone, squinting at it, my battery's going to go very soon. So I'm going to end now and start getting about my day. See you guys soon. Bye for now.